All right, so I am jumping on the AI bandwagon right now, and I am working on. So I have a kind of a side project, a side hustle called Sapling that I use to test a bunch of AI models, different methods, programming, things that can be used, in the overall ClickBid ecosystem without having to disrupt my entire team. So I like to kick the tires of different AI tools to see if it can help us with code and streamline and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so today I am working in the admin of my Sapling product, and it's a legacy platform. In 2015, I built this. My wife had an idea to have a donation system where people could pick different grid numbers, 1 through 100 or 1 through 500. And then if you hit your goal, that meant people picked all the grid numbers of the grid, and that was your goal. And so you could also hide prizes underneath it. So like if I want to so I don't have any prizes here, but if I wanted to put some prizes here, I could add a prize. And you can see it's really basic. And so it's a legacy platform. And like I said, in 2015, it looked a lot different. And so last year I used ChatGPT. I took all of my old code base page by page and I put it into ChatGPT and I said, will you modernize this so it'll run on the latest version of Ubuntu? And so it did it. I mean, it updated SQL queries, it updated code bases, it, trapped for different errors that it wasn't doing before. And it eventually, man, it was awesome. And it was really simple, one page at a time. The trade-off was that instead of me going in and manually updating pages in the code, I let ChatGPT do it. And so when I go to my code base here, I have, an admin folder of all of these, different pages. So like a prizes page, this is all just real basic. If you were a programmer, you'd look at this and go, wow, that's very procedural. Now, what I want to do is, with Claude 4.0 coming out last week and just this incredible coding engine and long running coding engine, what could you do with it? And so everybody's bragging and talking about, I created an app by just typing in a command. I need an app that does this. I need an app that tells me the time based on my arrival flight and helps me pick out a rental car all at once. And then poof, there it is. And I'm just thinking, wow, that is absolutely bonkers that you could pull that off, even with AI and what I've seen. So I thought, all right, fine, let me give this a shot. So I set up Claude Code, went to Anthropic, and I bought a Max account, connected it. You can see the terminal here in Claude running VS Code. And I said, okay, hot shot. Take my admin folder and turn it into a Laravel application, which is something I would love to have because I like the power that Laravel has, the stability, security features and all that, and it's extremely modern. But I have no background in Laravel. I'm only procedural code. I mean, I stopped writing like code full time years ago, and so never took on, these frameworks like Zen, Laravel, Symfony, any of that stuff. So it's just a black box to me. But last night, about 7 o'clock, I said, hey, Claude, just turn this into a Laravel thing. And it created this beautiful check. I mean, it was super cool. Like an actual programmer sat down and said, well, to do this, Matt, you're going to need to do these 15 things. And so it started through it. And it just started creating this you can see here in the code base, it created all these migrations. So, which is weird because I don't have that many tables in my current Sapling program. So Laravel went just hog wild, creating a bunch of new tables, probably double the number of tables. But okay, and then it created a database seeder so that I could, build this in, some testing to, make sure it works. It's all running on localhost. But what I was surprised was how well it did. I mean, I think there were times when the code just hummed along for over an hour, like an hour and a half, just building. If I had paid attention, I would see the routes that it was creating, the models, the controllers, the blade templates and everything. And it would just keep chewing through it. And it would only ask me if it wanted me to have it continue. I did run out of credits or whatever tokens at about 10:30 last night, which it said it would reset at 11 p.m. So I'm not really sure if that's a 24-hour or an hourly. Either way, it didn't really stop me that much. It was a great chance for me to go to sleep. And then this morning I picked back up and it picked up right where it left off. I had about 4 more to-do list items in Laravel or in Claude, and see what it does here if there's a good example. So it creates these kind of like says updated and it tells me what it's doing. In here somewhere is a there's probably to-do lists, but it's really cool. It just kind of bullets them out, and then it just works its way through it and literally crosses them off as it gets done. But then my computer crashed and I had to start over, which meant a new Claude chat, and I couldn't find any of the old stuff. So all that checklist stuff was gone. The only thing I could do was say, Claude, please pick up where you left off. And it said, well, it didn't say, because it was very polite. It just said, oh, cool, let me look at your code base and I'm going to read it and figure out where we left off. I think the problem with that is that now I am debugging like a boss, because there's so many missing things when I run it. So my seeder was, when I started just running it, I'll show you this. This is pretty cool. In the Laravel, it created all these README files, and this is a quick start guide. It built this for me because I asked it. I said, I don't know where to start. I'm not a Laravel guy. Tell me how to do this. So it said composer, npm, blah blah blah. Environment files, generate, all that stuff. And so far, I've gotten to the seed. Well, actually, no, I did get to serving pages, but the seed function was actually really clumsy, because it would try to create these tables. Well, first it created half the tables, then it died because it didn't have the right column. And so then I tried to start it over again. I said, oh, we have a constraint, a violation, because you can't have duplicates. And I was like, oh, that's because it got halfway through and then died. So then I had to go through and tell Claude, hey, listen, this isn't working the first time, so can you just wipe all the data before you run the seeder again? And so then it did this, and I'm trying really hard not to write any of my code into the system, because I want this to be 100% Claude-driven, AI-generated code. And so what it does is I run it, it pukes, I take the error message, paste it into Claude, it fixes it, then I run it again, it pukes, and then it's so on. I think a lot of that happened because my VS Code crashed, and I don't, maybe that wouldn't have happened, but I get the sense that these bigger projects are much harder for Claude to deal with, which, obviously, I mean, if it says, hey, I want you to make a HubSpot clone. Well, okay, good luck. But I think we're coming to a point with development where, apps won't necessarily be for the masses. It will be millions and millions of apps hosted in the cloud on temporary infrastructures or come and go infrastructures that will let me do, me personally, something that I want. So my phone, for instance, I'll have a phone that's blank, and I'll just say, hey, here's some basic apps, but what do you want to do? Like, you know what? I fly a lot and I want to know what the weather's like when I land. So it'll generate, AI will build an app that alerts you 5 minutes before you hit your airplane mode that, hey, the weather in such and such city is cloudy. You might have a little turbulence. So that app gets built for me, and then it gets put online, and nobody else gets really access to it. And that wasn't the point. But really, I could share it if I wanted to, but that's really not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to make my life easier, because the code is simple. It just generated it. And it's gotten so good at doing enough good code that even a few little bugs here and there, doesn't bother me. It's not an enterprise platform. But in this case, I am trying to build an enterprise platform, and I'm trying to modernize something that was built in a legacy into Laravel. So there have been some speed bumps. Right now, what I'm dealing with is I'm trying to get logged into the admin. Every time I hit refresh, I get, now that's because you guys are watching. So that is nuts. Okay, so it loaded it. I finally logged me in. I'm going to log out. Okay, yep, you've been logged out successfully. So admin@demo.org, and then my password. I wonder if I changed it. No, I didn't. Okay, so it was the default password that I got when I logged in. All right, so this is not at all what, I mean, if you look at my admin, this is my admin. This is Laravel's admin. I can't say that mine is that much better. It is a little kind of juvenile looking, but I bet I could say, hey, Laravel, install a Bootstrap admin template, that I bought or something like that. So, all right, so let's take a look. Let's see what happens here. Donations. That's weird because this month, this year, all time. So it says 0, but think, yeah, okay, so now I'm getting this error. So now I'm kind of going through, and what I'm doing is I'm taking the, Laravel error, because Laravel's pretty good at error reporting, and I'm just coming back to Claude Code and popping that in, and then it does its thing. And as long as I don't run out of tokens, it'll fix it. So I'm going to go back here while that's happening. This is puzzling to me because it says I have 0 donations, but one, it doesn't show my name, so just welcome. It probably should say Matt or something. I'm going to add a donation, donors, prizes, dashboard. There's no page here for me to edit my information. Interesting. There's no icon for AI content. Stripe payments, that's interesting. Files, like I don't even know what that is. Yeah, okay, that doesn't even exist. Prizes, boom. That's kind of a big deal. So yeah, there's a lot of missing. And recurring is interesting because recurring doesn't even exist in my platform. I'm not even sure where it got that. So I have a couple options here. I could say, hey, listen, I'm not doing recurring donations in this simple little platform. So can you just remove it? And it probably would. Ironically, though, if I look at my database, something's not right, because if I just select rows, let's see, client ID is 1. So I have all these donations, and if I go to clients, and again, I can do this because my ID is 1. So because I have some experience in MySQL, or at least a good functional knowledge of it, I can look at this and say, wait a second. To the average user, this would be like, oh, cool, nothing's broken here. But I know there is, because, hey, wait a second, I thought the seeder populated a bunch of data. So you do have to have the more knowledge I had about Laravel and this kind of stuff, the better I would be at debugging. And therefore, even if I didn't want to touch the code and I wanted Claude to do it, Claude, that I would at least be able to make an intelligent prompt instead of just copying and pasting errors. So for instance, in this case, there is no error, but for whatever reason, the donor page is not, let's see, admin donations. So the donations view is not loading donations that should occur in my platform. So let me go back. Did it finish it? Nope, it's still debugging. So it's still working on the error that I gave it before. So once it's done, and it is cool. It's updating this stuff on the fly. So now try refreshing the page. All right. So now what I'm going to, so as just a normal kind of non-technical person, I would say when I load donations, the donations view, I don't see any donations, even though there are many listed in the database. Now, with more knowledge, I would say something like, even though there are many records with a client ID that matches the clients, I think it's clients.id. Yeah, so clients.id is 1 and donations.clients client underscore ID is 1, therefore there should be. So maybe that would help, Claude. I don't know. But if I just hit enter and let it chew away, I think, what we have to become as new programmers is we have to be patient and let this thing cook for a while. But if I go to donors, unknown column tags and field list. So what I could maybe do at this point is say, okay, would you be willing, Claude, to look at my code base and try to, clean up some of these issues that I'm finding? I'm finding a lot of unknown columns from my migrations that are not listed in the views. Could you make sure that the columns that you're referencing in the views or the models, controllers, whatever, match the table record or table field names in the database? Because there's a big inconsistency. And what's having to happen is Claude is having to figure out, well, what do I update? Do I update the code base to ignore tags, or do I now add tags in a migration and then run the migrate? I don't know what it's actually deciding to do. I guess I'd have to look. But so right now I just copy. And frankly, this is weird because tags, I don't even have tags in my current application. So technically, Oh, looks like now you can go back to the switcher and select the client. What? That's not even what I asked. So we might be drifting at this point. Oh, now I also need to move the client login since we need to stay as admin. Oh, okay. Oh, wait a minute. What did I ask it to do? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So now, see, I'm getting lost. If I go, I had asked it about donations, so they weren't listing here. So if I hit refresh, yeah. Okay. I don't know what you did, but it didn't do it. So although maybe what I'll do is just log out. So admin at demo.org and password. So you can see I have clients. I have 24 donors, 79 donations. I don't know why this shouldn't be here because I'm not a super user and this is irrelevant. But anyway, so I go to donations and I got nothing. So now I got to figure out why donations is not doing this. So really what I've traded is development time. So if I'm probably 5 hours into this migration to admin, but from legacy to Laravel, I don't know if at the end of this, if I'm saving a lot of time. And not because I'm some stud programmer that can build a Laravel implementation in 5 hours or 500 hours, but if I were a skilled developer, maybe I could, and I'd be trading, even if it, basically it built the Laravel modernization in just a couple hours. Well, it would be tough as even a seasoned developer to just in a couple hours bang out a modernized version of it and get it dialed in perfectly. So I would spend a lot of time. But I would be doing a better job making sure that all my models and controllers and my migrations were really in line with what the legacy platform had. But I'm probably trading the amount of time that it spent building so quickly with debug. And so now I'm just debugging the ever-living death out of this thing. And honestly, I don't really know where I would go from here. If I said, well, this just isn't working. I'm 6 hours into this. I don't see an end in sight. I'm just going to abandon this thing, which is what would have happened to me if I had said, I want to modernize this thing in the first place. I would have said, no, I'm not doing it because I don't know Laravel well enough and I don't feel like modernizing. I'll let somebody else, if this product takes off and then I get, investors, then I can, pony up for the seasoned developer. But what I'm ending up, here we go. I hit refresh. It still tags. I don't know why it's not working. So now I'm kind of in that limbo of I just keep sending it error messages and trusting this thing to build it, when I'd really like to say, hold on, man, this thing is not working. Actually, dashboard is where it showed clients. Yeah, so I go to donations and there's just nothing. So now I've got two issues. One, it still hasn't fixed. Go back to the account switcher. Well, that's interesting because I never even went to it. I don't have access permission. So I know that. But okay, so let me just try. I think it was superadmin at demo.org. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, what was it? What was the... Yeah, okay, so I guess I need to go here and users. Come on, select rows. Well, none of those. Admins. Okay, so super at admin.com. All right, well, that's very different. Super. That was just password. I remember that at least. Okay. My password is expired. I don't care. Oh, apparently you care. Sure, why not? We'll just use a... Yep, now it's puking. All right, well, you can see here I have a lot of work ahead of me, and this did not just build it. What I could maybe I could have done is in my prompt to tell Claude to modernize my admin to say, listen, I need you to be strictly focused on page for page matching the functionality, because it added so many different things. Plus, I will admit, my legacy platform was kind of messy, and it, even a seasoned programmer would look at it and go, it would probably spend, a day just trying to dissect what in the crunk I did in the first place. Because, I made pivots and I didn't clean up my code and that kind of stuff. And so, but what it does go to show is that it's not necessarily shortcutting the developer or the development cycle. It definitely works a lot faster than your average programmer, but it doesn't necessarily. It's like when I learned typing back in high school. Yeah, I could type 100 words a minute, but my accuracy was like 2%. So, we got to make sure that if we are programming at the speed of light, we're actually getting a consistent accuracy without these kind of random elements being added in, that I didn't even ask for. And now I'm having to triage them and figure out how they fit into the product that I have. A lot of things could fix that, maybe with a better scope. So I'm not obviously laying this all at Claude's feet, but certainly we have some ways to go.